Stop messing around, stop fooling around, stop delaying, stop procrastinating. Get up, get out, get it done. Everything is possible, nothing is a problem, and anything can be overcome. I just get my ass up out of bed, I get my shit together, and I get out and I start the fight. And that will transform you from a mere mortal into a superhuman being. I've never, ever, ever met anybody who told me that they got rich watching their IRA or their 401k.
Welcome back to the Reaction Room, Peter.
George, how are you?
Wonderful. Yeah, I'm doing wonderful.
End of the year, man.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know. It's been happening fast. Yeah. It's funny that somebody said recently that the fact that 2021 is already over is proof that time doesn't just fly when you're having fun.
Right.
So, yeah, it's one of those things.
Big stuff for 2022.
Yeah. No, I believe
I'm
it.
psyched.
Yeah, me too. Want to get into these reactions?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, sounds good.
When I interview somebody, I really just ask them to tell me the story of their career. What are some of the tougher problems that they dealt with?
He wants to know about their ability to problem solve. George, we say it all the time. Problem solving. That's
enough for me to get a very good gut feel about
I agree. If I can understand how someone can solve problems, I can get a feel for them in a more global sense.
Did they face really difficult problems, overcome them? And then, of course, you want to make sure that if there was some significant accomplishment, were they really responsible or was somebody else more responsible?
Sure.
Usually the person who's had to struggle with the problem, they really understand it.
Sure they do.
Forget.
I remember every problem I had to struggle with, although I try to forget.
The person who was not truly responsible for that accomplishment will not know the details.
Yeah,
There's no need even to have a college degree at all.
Well, that I agree with. If you want to be financially successful, you don't need a college degree now.
Great things, but it's not necessarily the case. If you look at
doctors, lawyers need college degrees, but
Steve Jobs,
most other people, if you want money, college is no longer the guaranteed answer for achieving financial success.
Yeah.
So I agree with that as well.
Yeah.
Man, I love this guy. When I listen to Elon speak, I feel like he's saying the same concepts that we speak about frequently here on the show, George.
Totally. Yeah.
I mean, he's talking about college, financial success being tied or correlated to having a college degree. He's talking about problem solving, assessing someone based on their problem solving skills. I mean, these are just a couple of examples, but we talk about these things and so much more. It makes me feel a lot of affirmation that if Elon's saying the same things and we're saying the same things and we have a lot of our peers and friends that are saying the same things, I mean, I hope people can take note and understand. I mean, there's something to it. This stuff is not an accident. Success is not an accident. Success is a choice, a string of lots of choices, perhaps, over time, but it's a choice nonetheless. There's a formula, and there is consistent traits and characteristics behind those who are successful. And, you know, Elon just makes it sound just simple, and his demeanor's so soft-spoken and sort of low-key that his delivery is, for me, it's impactful because he's not trying to pound the table on anything. He's really just saying, I look at people's problem-solving abilities, and no, you don't have to go to college to become financially successful, and all that good stuff. So thanks for that. I'm a fan of this guy, you know that. I mean, he's singularly changing the face of the world, and as an entrepreneur to do that, I mean, it's awesome. I mean, look, I love changing the face of my community where I operate. I mean, I'll just take that as a win, but this guy's changing the world. It's pretty cool.
Success isn't an accident, it's a choice. I love that. Yeah, we should print t-shirts. Ready for round two?
Yeah, sure.
All right, sounds good.
Oh, I saw this. I saw it. I'm going to see the kick for the break of the leg. And that's, well, here's the buckle. It's coming. Oh, Connor's going down here because his leg broke. Dustin's just going off. Oh, God, these guys are, ouch. Yeah, there's the leg. Yeah, unbelievable. Man, I hope I didn't overload the microphone with my my yelling. I watched this fight when it happened live. I mean, these guys are incredible athletes. Poirier's awesome. I'm a Conor McGregor fan. What can I say? I was bummed to see him lose, but
that leg,
his leg broke. Man, it broke like a Pixie stick. My favorite part about this fight was what happened afterwards when Poirier was taking his victory lap and Conor McGregor was on the ground. He's saying, "Hey, Dustin, your wife's sliding into my DMs."
I remember. I think that made just as much press as the actual fight itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do remember that coming out.
Just leave it to Conor McGregor to stir the pot like that when he's sitting on the ground, bloodied with a broken leg. He's like, "Yeah, your wife's sliding into my DMs." Love that.
All right, and the last reaction, I got queued up here. It's a tweet from Mitchell Baldridge. It says, "It's not how much money you make, it's how much money you get to keep. Many people get rich young but end up paying millions in taxes when they help family or transfer wealth."
Well, that's true. We hear that and say that a lot, that it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. I mean, I think it's how much you make as well. So I think if you make a lot but you don't keep a large percentage of it, it just gets you to the same place that we're arguing here and noticing in this tweet, where it's not how much you make, it's what you keep. Look, you have to make a lot, you got to keep a lot, you got to do both. George, I have friends that have spent a lifetime in their careers. They've made a lot of money, but they've made W-2 income. And I mean, millions of dollars, very high income earners every year, $2-3 million a year. But they just don't keep a whole lot of it because it gets taxed. They're paying like 50% in taxes. So in their case, they're making a lot, but they're paying a lot. And at the end of that, they have $1.5 million left over, and people say, "Oh, well, that's a lot. They have $1.5 million. I don't know. If I'm making 3, I'm hoping I can keep more than 50% of it." And there's ways to do that. So you have to contact your tax professional, you have to contact your legal team, and you have to explore the various ways to hold on to your money, which are in conformity with the tax code, because there's strategies out there. You just need to seek it out and learn about it. But to me, I think it's, you got to make a lot and you got to keep a lot. Real estate investing is one of the best ways to do that because it's very tax favorable. But business owners, real estate owners, these are typically the people that are really honed in on and keying in on the tax portion of their income, and they recognize that owning businesses and real estate is very tax efficient and tax favorable. And the laws are changing a lot. We saw with the Trump administration one set of rules, and we're seeing now with the Biden administration a modified set of rules. And so you have to stay on top of it. But definitely, if the bulk of your income is W-2 income, you got to look at ways to capture accelerated depreciation and take a lot of depreciation up front so that you can avoid paying taxes on a greater portion of your income, for sure. But man, we got to make a lot and we got to keep a lot and we got to invest a lot.
Totally. All right, another great reaction. We'll head to the table.
Thanks, George.
Sounds great. All right, welcome back to the table, Peter. It's been a little while.
George, it's been a little while because there's been a lot going on. I haven't been around.
I know. Yeah, you were in Florida, right?
I was.
Miami?
For a couple different weeks I was in Florida. I was in Palm Beach for an event, and then I was in Miami like the next week for an event.
Yeah, how was that? Because we didn't talk about that one.
It was, you know what? It's a lot of fun. First of all, Miami, Florida. Man, what a cool place. You drive up and down Collins Avenue, and it's building after building after building of like sick architecture, recent or new construction. I mean, the Porsche Design Tower where you pull in and the car in an elevator takes you right up to your residence. There's no underground parking. And there's all sorts of cool buildings. And if you're into architecture, if you're into luxury real estate, if you're into real estate, it's a place to watch because there's so much demand down there. It's such prime stuff. Yeah, it's going to be underwater at some point, or I don't know. It's got issues for sure. But if you prepare for a water event to happen, you'll be able to enjoy it down there. We stayed at a cool hotel. So much fun. I mean, I love it down there. I'll tell you why I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it the most because it was 3 days of speaking about real estate and investing and underwriting and metrics and deals and
all your favorite things.
Man, I'm a real estate guy. So if I have a chance to be in a room with, I don't know, 1,000 or 1,500 other people that are like singularly focused on real estate and investing in real estate. And this was multifamily real estate. This wasn't like other types of asset classes.
It's very specific to your passion.
Yeah, so I appreciated that opportunity. That part was fun for me. And I got to meet Grant.
You had a little back and forth with him a couple times, right?
I don't know. I would always give my opinion. Yeah. And it got me into a bit of a tit for tat with him one time.
Really?
Yeah, well, he said he was walking up and down the aisle giving his presentation, and he said, "I bet you cap rates and interest rates continue to go down." And I said, I'll take that bet. And he sort of turned around. He's like, what? And he saw me. He's like, what'd you say? I said, I'll take the bet. He goes, what bet? I said, I'll take the bet that cap rates and interest rates actually go up, not continue to go down. And he said, all right, we got a bet. How are we doing this? And I said, all right, $10,000 that interest rates are 100 basis points higher 12 months from today. And he said, yeah, I'll take that bet. So we got that one done. And then cap rates were a little bit more difficult to actually craft and architect
it's hard to measure.
A contract
right,
between
yeah.
it. It was hard to measure what asset class, what market. So we decided to leave cap rates alone for the time being, and we'd circle back to it. But we'll have to track this bet and see how it goes. But Grant, buddy, I think that you're going to be writing me, or more likely a charity of my choice, a check in a year from now. So you know what? Here's how I feel about it. Either way, if interest rates go up and I win the bet, Grant's going to write me a check. If interest rates go down and I have to write him a check, I'm probably still pretty psyched, because that means all my properties are going to be doing great, and I'll continue to refinance at lower rates. So I'll be able to afford to write him the check for him winning the bet.
Yep. Yeah. Win-win.
I had a great time in Miami with my friends who I traveled with, and it was spectacular. We had great dinners, great meals. I got to meet people for the first time. A lot of these people were Clubhouse people, so I always love that when you can actually have a face-to-face interaction. And
it seemed like it was very business oriented, but it was also tremendously social. So
all business.
Yeah.
But we went out to dinner at night, and it was a lot of fun, and it was great. Met some great people. And you know me, George, I never really have circulated or networked or been interested in meeting new people, and I've really been embracing it lately, and it's I'm enjoying it. I think it's a very good thing for me. I've been enjoying it. I think I've made some really good relationships. We're doing business together. High net worth individuals are investing with me, exploring new markets and new opportunities that weren't previously available. So it's all coming together, and it's all because I've decided to say yes to getting off my ass and going out there and meeting new people and forging new relationships and building relationships. And look, you go out to some dinners, you have some fun, you wake up the next day, you go to an event, you have another dinner. I mean, after a couple days of that, you get to know someone a little bit. So it was great for me.
It's really the coalescence of everything that is Siegel Capital, which is relationship, get up,
as opposed to the convalescence, which is coming soon, I hope.
Yeah, that's
not. But
so we're getting towards the end of the year. I was going to end with this, but we're already talking kind of about the end of the year, and we mentioned it during the reaction room. Do you have any New Year's goals that are coming up? How do you do any way that you view that specifically? Has it changed over time?
It's such a thing, New Year's goals and New Year's resolutions. I sort of mentally create some goals and resolutions, and I never really stick to them, because there's nothing different for me about the end of the year than any other day or week or month. So I'm always setting goals.
You're always getting after it.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. I mean, look, like the popular one is, I'm going to lose weight, and I'm going to change my diet. I don't know. Like, I'm always thinking about how to do that. So it's nothing new for me for the end of the year or the new year. But here's what I think about the end of the year. Like, finish strong. Like, whatever it is you're working on, whatever seeds you want to plant, get it done, finish strong, and then come into the new year screaming hot and fast and hard. You know, a lot of people chill out once, Thanksgiving happens, and they sort of go on half gear for December, and they cruise through New Year's, and they're like, and then they get into January. I don't know. They wake up like January 15th or January 25th, and they figure then they'll start.
Yeah.
Not me.
Yeah.
Like, December's when I get a lot of stuff done because everyone else is asleep. A holiday, Christmas week, New Year's, like, I got a lot of stuff done. Everyone else is like taken off or
I feel
whatever.
like December's been one of our busiest months across the board.
For me, it has been, yeah. And January, I mean, there's a lot going on. I already know what's happening in January. I have for a while. I've got 3 deals that I'm refinancing. I've got a deal that I'm just closing next week, by the way. So that'll carry into the new year. We're going to have to get our hands around that one, get the management team on site, start absorbing all those details about owning a new asset. My February already booked out. I know exactly what the calendar looks like. March, same thing. I mean, to the hour, I know what every day of every month through May really looks like right now. And I want to get after it hot and fast. I don't want to lose out on things. I don't want to miss opportunities. I'm so hell-bent on not surviving, but thriving, on not just repeating the same old things that I did for the past 25, 30 years, but changing it up and doing new things. Because I believe, George, that whatever it was that we were doing up until this year, recently, we have to change it because the world's a different place, the venue's a different venue, and the rules are different now. And so much has changed and so much is going to continue to change that if we just simply repeat the same stuff that we've been doing for a long time and just carry that forward into 2022 and beyond, I don't think we're going to win. I think that's a losing formula. So I want to adapt and pivot, change, and expand. So I'm saying yes to all sorts of new things. I'm exploring new things. I've got more on my to-do list than ever because I don't want to let a minute go by where I could have done something to further myself, to better myself, to learn, grow, expand, build a relationship. I don't want to let a minute go by where I don't do those things. I mean, every minute of every day for me is about that stuff.
Yeah, developing that beginner's mind. Is that something that you always had? Do you take that from someone? Are you inspired by someone in that way?
I've always been a fighter and I've always been a take action kind of person. But what I'm talking about right now, right here, I mean, I'm so antsy about it. Like I'm packing more into my 24-hour day. So you've heard my friend Lindsay say this. You got to pack 48 hours into a 24-hour day.
Right.
She does that. I do that. And I think a lot of successful people are able to do that. You have to be able to do a lot with the time that you have. Sleep a little less, get a little bit more done. Over time, it accumulates. I've always been like that, but I feel really anxious about it now. Like I don't want to miss a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear a lot of that people, especially surrounding Web3 and, that whole thing. I feel like a lot of people are feeling antsy and feeling, about
You
that.
sense it too.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear people talk about it on podcasts. I hear people talk about it on the street. Yeah, no, it's a thing. Definitely. Yeah. I wanted to touch base with you on this thing about Chicago developers. They're doing this underground storage facility. And I was wondering, we've talked a lot about supply and demand and about how we need to build in order to, provide more supply. Is this one way that you see as a potential thing for the future, or is it just kind of a one-off? Like, what are your thoughts?
Look, where you're in a supply-constrained environment, you can either go up or you can go down, or you can buy the guys to your left and right and expand outwards. So this is for a storage facility that's digging up ground in Chicago, and they're going to build downwards into the ground. And, look, there's a cost to doing that. So I don't know if they had to acquire any downward development rights, perhaps the opposite of accumulating air rights in New York City, for example, to build up. But there's a cost to going down. I mean, they have to excavate. I'm sure there's tons of engineering and planning that goes into it, tons of bonding, and you have to get approval from all the various different divisions of city government and local and state government to do that, especially in a densely populated place like Chicago. But look, if they can build down and it's safe, they're going to create value where there was none before. I mean, imagine there was probably just, I don't know what was at the site before, but if they're going to go down 3 or 4 or 5 or 8 stories, I mean, they could create storage space there, rentable storage space. I mean, they're creating value there where there was none before. That's what developers do, and that's what investors are looking for. So I think it's a great idea, and I think it's the kind of thing that we're going to see more of, not just going down, but it's going to be going up. We're going to find new ways to use existing space, new ways to use existing land. You'll say, Peter, well, how could there be a new way to use land? Let me tell you, we're going to find new ways to use land because we're so supply constrained. Our population is doing nothing but getting larger. We need the services that real estate provides: housing, storage, warehousing, commercial. We've seen the fragility of office space.
Right, yeah.
We've seen how malls are getting repurposed. We're seeing how buildings and properties that had a use 20 or 30 or 40 years ago are having changes of use now.
Yeah.
So all of this stuff is happening, and bravo to the guys who want to build downward and put in storage space under the ground. Wish it was me.
Yeah.
Call me next time. I'll invest, guys.
You had mentioned the fragility of office space. Matt Cali Realty just recently...
Oh, they exited the whole thing.
They exited their whole thing, shifted to multifamily. Yeah. And that surprised me. I mean, it's an institution, so they have the ability to
So
be
not just
mobile,
Matt Cali,
though.
Yeah. That's just one example. There's huge capital exiting commercial, exiting office, and going into multifamily by the billions. So all of this capital is pouring into the multifamily space. They could either build new assets, they could buy existing assets, recently built assets right from the developer. They could buy historical vintage assets, which which is what I like to do, and do value add plays, although those typically tend to not be for the big institutional guys. All of this capital is pouring into the space. Those dollars have to go somewhere. It's going to fuel such a market strength, and it's going to really validate the market moving forward, because they're going to put this capital out on the streets. They're going to buy buildings and properties that normally would say, man, how could they pay that much? They overpaid. It's too expensive. But they're going to do it because they're not going to be able to buy anything else, so they're going to have to overpay. And then they're going to increase rents. I mean, if they buy premier properties in great locations and they feel that there's a strong tenant base that wants to be there, they're going to increase rents. We're in an inflationary environment right now, so higher rents is a part of that, so we all have to get used to that. So for sure, they want a hedge against inflation. So all this money's pouring in not just to make money, but to hedge against inflation. So they're considering it a win if they just park money and it hedges them against inflation. They don't have any return, but they're just hedged. They increase at the rate of inflation. That's a win for them. George, I need to outperform the rate of inflation. Inflation's now around 7, high 6s or 7, but we need to do better than that in our investing lives because we need to outpace inflation. So we're looking for 12, 15, 18, 22, 25% returns, which you can get in certain sectors, certain markets, and certain asset classes, value add being one of them. Yeah, there's a lot of money pouring into multifamily, and I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Perhaps this was Grant's point where he says cap rates are going to continue to go down. We'll see. Time will tell in a year. But perhaps this was the point that he was making, that all these dollars continue to compete and pour into this space and compete for these assets where there aren't a whole lot of assets to acquire. So it's going to force values up.
Yeah, it made me wonder, we often talk about this being a good time to get into multifamily if you're starting out, if you're a smaller investor. Now I wonder, as these institutions gradually pour, as you said, pour tremendous amounts of money into this sector, how possible that's going to be in the next few years.
I wouldn't buy a 2, 3, or 4 family house. Mm-hmm. So if you look back to 2008, all of the properties that were multifamily properties that got taken back by the banks because they failed because there was defaults on the mortgages, all the smaller properties, 2 units, 3 units, 4, 5 units, these are the property sizes where it's just like John and Jane investor, and they have the 5 family and they rent it out, and it's just too small. There's no economies of scale, and it's way more susceptible to liquidity issues in the marketplace, which is what we had in 2008, interest rate swings. So there's only 5 units, but if you get up to 50, 250, 350, 400 units, you spread out the risk and the tolerance over many more units, so that property is going to be way more capable of handling market fluctuations. Look, getting into multifamily today is certainly a better time than getting into multifamily tomorrow, but you have to pick and choose your assets and your asset sizes wisely. So if you're going to get into multifamily, consider getting into the largest number of units possible that you can find. Now, maybe you can do that by yourself by getting into the marketplace, looking for deals, sourcing them, underwriting them, making offers, winning the bids, getting a contract out, putting hard money down on a contract. I mean, that's what you have to do if you're going to be in the business of multifamily yourself. Or you have to seek out a seasoned professional, a multifamily operator like me or like someone else. There's many people out there that do it, and invest with them. I mean, typically, investing in income-producing property wasn't really accessible to the common investor. We've said that since day one. But the world is different now, and there's now different ways to invest into great multifamily property. If you can do it yourself, great, and you're going to make it your business, wonderful. But you can also find operators and sponsors and syndicators who are making investments into large-scale projects accessible to you. So look at those as well.
I read this thing about toy manufacturers in building in Mexico for supply chain reasons, getting closer to the market.
They don't want to have shipping risk to the U.S. market.
It made me think, do you have any kind of strategies in dealing with supply chain issues right now? Because I know with developing and everything
Not with toys, right. But no, I will tell you. Yeah, look, we're scrambling all year. This entire year of 2021, we scrambled. We had to find different sources for windows, for cabinets, lighting fixtures, all sorts of things that we use on a daily basis. We had to find new sources for because our tried and true and trusted sources couldn't come through anymore. It was tough. My strategies, there is no strategy to it. You want to know what the strategy is? Wake up earlier, get off your fucking ass, and start calling around. Dial for the goods that you need. Dial for dollars, dial for suppliers, whatever.
It's refreshing to hear that, and that I feel like I've spoken a little bit about this before, that when I started working professionally, I think I assumed that there was...
Do you work professionally?
Well, I don't know about that, but at least when I started getting a job that I would, tell people about rather than just my summer job, I assumed that there was like an official way to do things, that there was just one way and that you were taught that way and that you would do it and there was a procedure, you would follow procedure. And so many of the things, not just for my job, but any job, is just calling somebody who knows, like calling somebody who might know somebody.
Call someone who knows.
Yeah, and it's a game of...
Call yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
There's no
totally.
official way to do anything. Just get it done. However you can get it done, get it done.
Yeah.
Don't hurt anybody. Don't hurt yourself. But like, get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no rules, man. That's what differentiates, I think, the masses from the special few. The special few get stuff done. Yeah. They figure out how to get stuff done. Unfortunately, most of us in the masses, we're just waiting for things to happen and we can take advantage of someone else providing it to us, or
and I think sometimes
they create the result for us.
Yeah, I think sometimes people can be embarrassed, let's say if it's a supply chain thing, say, well, we've always worked with this vendor, and so it'll be embarrassing to call this other person I've never talked to. And
Here's a supply chain issue I have for you. So our new development at 333 Ocean Boulevard in Long Branch. So we created these really cool units. The units were 1-bedroom units. It's 26 1-bedroom, 1-bath units. And they were small. They're like 600 square feet. Pretty small compared to our typical unit size. The building's great because it's right on the beach. Beach block building, direct to ocean views, parking. Look, the combination of those things makes it a really desirable asset, really great location. So we renovated all 26 units to have built-in cabinetry with like pull-down Murphy beds, queen-size beds, so that new residents could just bring a mattress rather than try to imagine how to fit furniture into a smaller space. I wanted to eliminate the thought process of, where's all my stuff going to go? Like, we wanted to make it easy and provide solutions. So we put in the built-ins. We have movable glass wall panels that slide on these tracks where you can open up a room, close off a room, and other features.
Yeah, those are really cool. We filmed those. Yeah,
right, we did, and you can put a shot of it up too, please.
Yeah.
But of the 26 units, we have half of them done. We have to get the other half done now. It's time. And part of the renovation, as I mentioned, is this built-in cabinetry with the Murphy bed pulled down. And our cabinet and Murphy bed supplier said, we don't have anybody here that can do the finishing to give you the color that you want. I said, what do you mean? We need, our contract says we're supposed to deliver 13 and then 13. I don't have anybody that can handle the 13. I don't know. My project manager's freaking out. I'm freaking out. Everyone in the office is freaking out. We can't wait till March or April to maybe have them find someone who could do the paint finish and get our... So I said, well, wait a second. We don't need all 13 right now. We need 5 of the 13 right now. So I said to my project manager, see if they can deliver us 5 of the 13 right now, and we'll take the other 8 in March. We don't need them till March. I don't want to take delivery of them and put them in storage and hold them and hope that they don't get damaged. So I'm fine taking delivery of 5 now, 13 later. That turned out to be the solution because the company thought they had to deliver me 13 of them, and that was the logjam. That was the block physically and mentally and logistically that made it impossible for them to deliver us 13. I mean, 13 was just too much. 5 they could do. You got to think of ways to work around it. If you ordered 1,000 of something, maybe take 200 now, 200 in 5 weeks, another 200 in a month after that, whatever, and you'll build your way up to the 1,000 units. Maybe you have to find a whole new supplier, a whole new vendor. Maybe you have to do it yourself, build it yourself, hire your own carpenters, get your own lumber, and start sawing and sanding and finishing your own cabinets. People have to do that. But however you get it done, get it done. There's ways. I
mean, you said before that, there's only 2 times that something is finished. It's whether you accomplish your goal or if you give up. And so,
right.
You just got to accomplish the goal.
Wait, what did I say?
You said that there's two ways that when something ends, it's only 2 ways. It's if you've accomplished the goal that you're set out to do, or if you give up. And so don't give up,
Excellent one, George. So glad you remember that.
Yeah.
That's true.
So it's a beautiful example of that. So
what else you got?
So today, the last question I have officially is, we always talk about your tenant connections, that like we need to provide excellent service to tenants.
Okay.
Are there any particular connections or experiences you've had with tenants that stand out to you in a positive way?
My favorite ones are when there's life moments that happen when they're living in our apartments in our buildings. So when people have kids, when babies are born while they're our tenants. I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really special stuff. I can think of several of those examples right now, and I've enjoyed seeing the kids grow up a little bit. If they stay in the area, I'll see them around. We'll say, hey, how's your kid? And that's always really nice. I think the same thing when tenants get together and they couple up, or in some cases marry as a result. Our leasing manager, I mean, he's famous for this. He's famous for meeting
really?
his now wife rented an apartment from him.
Wow.
And they met that way.
Yeah.
And they're now married.
Yeah, that's amazing. I didn't know that.
I would never mention Tom by name, but that is definitely his MO. So he's gotten a lot out of working with this company.
Got a whole marriage out of it.
Yeah. But no, look, that's fun stuff. I think when people get together, I mean, the fun stuff in life. I always was very envious of my brother's business. He's in the jewelry business, and he gets to be in a business where people come to celebrate happy moments. Birthdays, anniversaries, weddings, graduations. These are all the times in our lives that we remember and mark with gifts and often jewelry. So he gets to be a part of all of that with his client base. And I think it's so cool. So I always like that with our residents when they have something amazing like that happen. Or if they want to go buy a house, it's like, wow, you're buying a house. And I mean, it's exciting stuff. You know, in life, it's so easy to complain and be negative and only focus on the bad things that happen. And certainly in our business, the phone doesn't really ring for good news.
Right.
The phone rings all day long with complaints. I got leaks. I got a damage. I'm locked out. I need you. I need you. And I need you now, not in 5 minutes and not in 5 hours. I need you now. So it's always stressful. It's always a bit, negative subject matter. And you got to celebrate the good stuff too. So I always like when the good stuff happens, and we get a lot of it. It's really nice.
Cool. Well, that's what I got. Anything you wanted to touch on before we head over to the Q&A?
I hope that our city council gets it right at the meeting tonight. It's been on my mind, so I feel like it's weighing me down a little bit. Politics in our state and in our towns continue to be something that I see is a big part of the business equation. And George, I look for business environments that are politically stable, that are friendly for investment and for businesses. And in our areas, we don't have as much of it as we used to have. I think it's a trend, unfortunately, that in our states are...
certainly in the Northeast.
I think it's not the right direction in a lot of cases. So I'm hoping that our town gets it right tonight at our city council meeting, where they vote on some pretty significant policy, which, in my opinion, was rushed and not thought through very well, and is not really meant for the voters in the community. It's more meant for the politicians, so that they can have a badge to wear out in the community. But look, that's how it goes in our world. If you don't like it, you have to vote differently. So I promise you, we are going to be voting differently.
Yeah, taking responsibility for it.
And now we got to get involved in all that shit, and I don't want to be. And it's just like a headache, but we're going to do it, and we're going to have an impact.
Yeah. Well, and something you've talked about with this issue is that it really is community based. It's not just about the business; it's about how this affects the community at large.
It's all about how it affects the community, and it's going to be bad.
Yeah,
it's going to be negative impacting how it affects the community.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll say some prayers for you tonight.
Thank you. Thanks,
right,
everybody.
See you over in Q&A. All right, Peter, welcome back to Q&A. You ready for this?
Let's do it, man.
All right, so we got this question from Jess Baker.
Hey, Jess.
She says, I want to invest. I'm ready to invest. I have a substantial amount of money saved up just sitting in the bank, but...
Does she say how much?
She doesn't say how much.
Okay.
But she says, but my husband is afraid to start investing. He thinks it's too risky and always cites things like 2008 to say that he thinks it's better that we just focus on income from our jobs and saving. How would you convince a reluctant investor to start?
Jess, you need a new husband. What can I tell you? I hear this all the time. My mom doesn't want me to. My parents don't want me to. My friends think I'm an idiot. My girlfriend thinks I'm stupid for investing. I mean, if people are like this in your life and you're not thinking that way, you got to spend less time with them or you got to replace them. I mean, this is all negative thinking and limited beliefs that's going to screw you for the long run. If it's your money and you want to invest, go out there, make your own decisions, do your own research, and make some good investments that make you feel good about what you're doing with your money. You have to invest. If you don't, you're not going to get anywhere, and especially in this inflationary environment where the value of your dollars that's sitting in a bank account are just getting less and less and less every day. So investing's a great thing. What are you going to invest in? You'll pick. I love real estate myself, but if you want to get into real estate, there's ways to do that now that didn't exist before. I recommend for everybody, George, you have to start investing, and if you're around people that are just limiting you, then you gotta have a tough conversation with them.
Why aren't you, like you specifically, I know the answer should be obvious, but why aren't you afraid to invest? Because this other person clearly is.
George, fears are the single biggest thing that we as a human species deal with that dictate our behaviors and actions and abilities every day of our lives. If we're afraid to fly, we don't fly. We'll do other things. If we're afraid to go up to someone and ask them out on a date, we'll miss out on the opportunity to be with that person. If we're afraid to invest, we're never going to get ahead. We're never going to be able to grow wealth. You have to invest. Get over your fears. Become educated. There's lots of ways to learn about investing and the different types of options that are available to you. Once you get educated on what those options are, the fears go way down. But you got to get over the fears. And you have to know what you're investing in, know your numbers, know your markets, know your assets. Seek advice. Ask a lot of questions. Do you have an investment advisor? Is there someone in your orbit who's successful financially that you can ask them for an opinion on what you should do or who you should talk to? I mean, you have to have those conversations. But if you just stay scared and fearful about investing in other things in your life all the time, you're just going to never leave your house or apartment and you're going to go nowhere. So get over your fears, get over yourself. Start investing if you haven't, and if you are, continue to do it.
Hell yeah. All right. Thanks so much, Peter. Thank you, Jess, and have a great week. I'll see you next time.
Good luck with that husband, Jess.
If you like what you just heard, you can subscribe to The Daily Cash Flow on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts, and we'd love it if you left us a review. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook at SiegelCap, and on Instagram at Siegel.cap. As always, if you're an accredited investor, go to SiegelCapital.com and take our survey to see if you qualify to take part in one of our apartment building deals. That's SIEGEL Capital.com.